Good afternoon, everyone, and very happy Friday to you. Look who is joining me. Not just famous Aaron, but also Bradley, who is absolutely adorable. And can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that all three of us wearing Lexa merchandise. We are very much on brand, and that was unscripted. We didn't plan that; it just happened that way.
I
That's
was going to
brand.
send you. I was going to send you some merch. I didn't need to.
I was on top of it, Aaron. Well, Mr. Popular, I would call you because as soon as I announced you as my guest this week, that blew up. So everyone was very excited
Oh,
that we'll have a chat today. And no wonder, because let me tell you from my point of view, you're a beautiful human. You are very helpful. You're very personable. You're very knowledgeable. I love your approach to people and how you explain complex things in the most simple way. Well, that's your teaching background, obviously, kick in. And I also just want to acknowledge and let you know that I am and the whole community, we really appreciate all your contribution and everything what you're doing in this industry. So thank you so much. Can you just please introduce yourself and we'll kick it off?
thank you, Anna. That was such a warm welcome. I appreciate that. I'm Aaron Luxmore. Currently, this role is the head of sales and partnerships for Lexa. I've been with the company 3.5 years, I think. But as you touched on, I used to be a primary school teacher back in the day, which people find quite interesting. I used to teach grade 5, 6 kids, which has been really helpful in this role because I feel like I've had to simplify something that can be complex on the outside to a lot of people for the first time. But after teaching, I moved into working in radio, selling radio airtime, essentially radio ads. I worked for Fairfax Media and Channel 9. Then I worked for a digital agency, and now that kind of led me to this role, which is a perfect transition. Maybe you don't get the connection with teaching, but perfect transition in the way that I'm dealing with marketing people a lot in this role, which I have in all the previous roles. So it makes sense. So yeah, that's me.
Absolutely makes sense. There is a view that we all have at least five career changes in our lifetime. So that makes sense. I wasn't
That checks out.
counting how many you're up to now, but hopefully
That's
you'll
about
say,
that's about that. Teaching, radio, digital marketing agency. Here, I did a bit of MC work for a while for an event company. So there you go. That's the fifth one.
selfishly, I do want you to stay where you are right now, please. It's very much needed because, as you know, I embarked on this the whole CDP journey years ago before people could even pronounce the CDP and what it meant. And I can't remember the time, probably 7 years ago. And it was very difficult to explain to people
Yeah.
what the unified data means. But hopefully, our job is a little bit easier today.
Yes.
I still kind of surprised about the very slow adoption, but
Mm.
hopefully, we'll demystify the whole complexity around it and inspire people to look at it from the simplistic view and the easy view and how we can address those pain points. So
For
let's dive
sure.
in, shall we?
Let's do it for sure. See how I go.
You'll be absolutely fine. You're the best public speaker. So and I get told about it all the time. And I agree because
I'm not
I
going to be
had to
able to wear
speak.
this hat. My head's getting bigger and bigger. Stop it.
You're fine. Lexa is known for helping brands bring together their customer data in one clear view. What's the biggest disconnect you see between how brands collect data and how they actually use it to drive action?
Yeah, look, I think lots of brands are getting pretty good at collecting quite a bit of data. Some of them don't collect enough data. That's another story for another time. But they've got all this data, but it's just not organized in a way where you can actually use it in some sort of meaningful way. So they've got like data in their e-com platform, their point of sale, email, SMS, loyalty reviews, all in these different systems. We call it SaaS spaghetti or Frankenstack because it is such a web and it's messy a lot of the time. Some people talk to me and say, oh, we've got a middleware that's connecting our point of sale to our e-com. And they think that's enough, which that's great that you've got that. But then you still can't actually do anything with the data, if that makes sense. And then maybe they've got like a data warehouse, which has got quite a lot of data. Usually there's some bits missing in that. But again, there's this data connected sitting in one place, but it's not actually in any usable format. And so then what happens is they're going to the IT team and they're saying, can you please create this Excel spreadsheet of all this data so I can understand my customers? So therefore it becomes like really time consuming and it's quite manual, and everybody's looking at different numbers. So there's like different definitions of who is the best customer, which makes it hard to make meaningful actions. I think some brands scarily making quite big decisions based on anecdotal data, or even worse still, on a bit of a gut feel. There's a few brands that I've spoken to in the past that have said, oh, my gut says the customers are doing this, which is a bit scary. We had one extreme case where there was a brand in the US, it's called Aspen One. They are quite a big ski village, I guess you could say, in the US. So they've got like accommodation data, restaurant data, retail, ski lifts, ski hire, etc., all in a different place. That's like the extreme of data in messy places, and they've come to Lexa to like build that all up now. I think how they can actually use it is, I think, the second part to your question. I think once they bring all the data together, once these retailers bring the data together into a single view of the customer, some people call it a golden record, then everything sort of starts to click. They can do more accurate segmenting. The store people actually understand who they're serving. We can touch on that a bit later about our in-store tool. E-commerce knows who's browsing and why, and it starts to become something that you're not reporting on so much as acting on. And that's ultimately why we exist, is to be able to understand easily who your customers are and then use that for the teams that really need to use it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it will totally make sense, because that was me 10 years ago. I couldn't make sense of that data, and I used to hustle those IT guys all the time. It's like, tell me this and tell me that. And a week later, I'll receive the convoluted spreadsheet, which makes no sense. And then I forgot what I wanted to know to begin with. And it was just, and yes, a lot of it, the whole interpretation of that was based on many opinions. And ultimately, we had to create the library that included all the definitions of who we think that active customer is, who we think the highest spender is, not what one person, the opinion.
And everyone's time poor. If you ask anybody what the biggest problem is, they all say they don't have enough time. And so having to go in and out of all these platforms to understand data is a big problem. And therefore, people just find it too hard to put in the too hard basket. And they just go on doing what they've always done and going, oh, we'll do this campaign on Black Friday because everyone else is doing it. But like, what is the analysis to say what you should be doing on Black Friday, for example?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it becomes one giant spray and pray that we all are sick of right now, because we're in mid-November and some already counting down that the Black Friday is over. What? Yeah. Can you just remind everyone that it used to be on the 28th of November? Anyway, we're not going to go there.
Black November. I went into Cocoa Republic on Sunday, and there was Black November everywhere, and it was jam-packed. And that was last weekend. That was like the second week or something of November. Crazy.
Yes. Okay. And then what's going to happen in December and January? Not much.
Yeah, not much.
Okay. So you often talk about it turning data chaos into customer clarity. What does that chaos usually look like in practice? And what's the first step toward bringing structure and meaning to it? You know, I'm big on structure, so I would like you to unpack that, please.
Yeah. I think the chaos is that there's no single source of truth. So you've got every team working from a different source and none of them are lining up. So you've got the e-commerce team, they've got one view of the customer, but the retail team sees another. And then the loyalty team have got another version of who that customer is. And then even the paid media team are like guessing based on like third-party signals. So even though there's plenty of data, it's really messy. They've got duplication. That's a big problem. So I'll go into a store or I'll go online and I'll share my email address, my personal email address. And then a week later, I want that 10% off discount. So I'll then share my work email address. Sometimes there's like 3 versions of a customer. And so you don't really know what the true lifetime value is, or the true average order value, or the true discount rate, or what products they are buying most, because it's not connected. So the deduplication is a problem, or the duplication is a problem. And therefore, no one actually trusts the data to be able to act on it confidently. So the first step to being able to bring that clarity is to create that single profile, unify all the data. It's not about adding more data yet, if you haven't even got the single customer view. It's not about adding more data or having more dashboards. It's just having that one accurate, agreed upon view of who that customer is. And then everything becomes simpler. So the segmentation improves, the personalisation becomes more relevant, and everyone's starting to talk the same language. And that's when the clarity comes in, when everybody's talking the same language, they're all in a room together, and they'll say, let's look at Lexa, let's look at our CDP to understand who that customer really is, rather than having all these conflicting views.
Duplication is such a big issue. Well, when I introduced the CDP, it was a big issue for us, and it was a massive data cleanse that we did, and impacted many of our strategic decisions after that. But on the personal level, I do a lot of shopping online, and sometimes, on the Shopify sites, I complete the transaction, and then that's my Apple ID is associated with my personal email address, and then I sign up for the brand under my business email address. So here is the duplications. Here it comes again.
And that was accidental. Like, you didn't deliberately try to dodge be able to get the extra discount in that instance. Sometimes people are doing that to get the extra discount, but
and it happens to me all the time. When I don't remember to switch the emails, it happens all the time. Then I just get emails on both accounts, and that's annoying. And then I know that dilutes the data. So,
and also, if you think about that from a marketing perspective, what's happening then is they've got two versions of you, so that you're being put into two email flows. You're being put into two segments for paid marketing, and they're basically doubling their marketing spend by sending the same campaign to you in different platforms on different email addresses. So once you deduplicate and get the true single view of you, you've got less customer records, and that becomes cheaper on all of the platforms that you're activating.
100%. So this is a perfect segue, because one of Lex's strengths is simplifying complex data for marketers. What are the biggest barriers that stop marketing teams from feeling confident with data, and how do you help them overcome that?
I think the biggest barrier is that these marketers are expected to use or analyze data that was never actually designed for them and their role in the first place. So it's really technical. The data's in multiple different systems and all those different definitions that I talked about. So they've got like dashboards that are really interesting. We have plenty of dashboards as well. They're interesting, but they're not actionable. And then what happens is these marketers lose confidence. No one wants to guess what the data is or what they should be doing. So the confidence drops. Some retailers have finally cottoned on to, we need a CDP of some sort. Some of them, unfortunately, have chosen a CDP that's designed for data scientists. So there's a few different CDPs in market. Ours is designed more for a marketing person, but there's some really complex ones that you need to be a data analyst or a data scientist to use it. And what happens is everyone then goes to that person, like we were talking about before. They go to IT or they go to the data scientist to be that one person that holds all the data, which defeats the purpose of having a CDP. It should be something that anyone can use and anyone can access. So then what happens is you spent this money, you put a decent investment into some tech, and it doesn't get used, and then it's seen as a waste of money. So that's, So what Lexa will do, apart from the fact that the tech is really easy to use, I don't think any tech should just be on its own. So I'm really proud of our customer success team and the professional services we offer, because you've got the tech and it's easy to use yourself, but we go in and we look at strategy. We do quarterly business reviews. We help you decide what campaigns you should be running. We work with your agency. So it's the professional services along with it to help you deep dive. You access it whenever you like, but we're there to form the strategy with you. And it translates those complex things into something that's a bit more familiar. And then the data is connected directly into your activation tool. So the data then pushes straight back into your email platform or your SMS or back into store. The marketing teams don't need to be analysts. Like, that's just not what their job is. We want to give them data they can use. And then I think confidence comes from being able to use it straight away. We're actually right in the middle, actually the last day of what we're doing a big hackathon at the moment. So we've got all the solutions team have doubled down. And of course, AI is a big topic. So we're about to make it even easier for these people, because we're going to be using AI to better structure the data, to better automate insights, automate customer engagement, like taking it to the next level and drastically reducing the amount of human effort that you need. So just watch this space. It's going to be really, really cool.
I'm watching it with a lot of interest. As you know, I've been a massive supporter of Lexa since I introduced this into retail years ago. But I do vouch for the collaborative effort. It's very important. Yes, the platform is the easiest to use. As you probably heard that story many times, I sat through 11 demonstrations and I absolutely felt like I needed to be a rocket scientist to understand. And I thought, well, if I can't understand it, not that I'm the smartest person in the room, but how would my team understand it? And anyone who we want to onboard, and anyone who is just about to onboard Lexa, my biggest recommendation would be to definitely go wider with your team during the onboarding and get a lot of people uh, involved in that process, because you'll never look back, because that sense of ownership, it just skyrockets. So
That's a really good point, because I'll call out one of our clients, Chic. So Mel
great.
Grafton heads up digital at Chic. She's amazing, and she did that right from the start. So from the very, very beginning, first demo, she brought as many people on board as possible. And by the time it came to signing on the dotted line and doing the implementation, everyone was bought into it and invested, because you want those people to then really be curious, want to
Use it.
jump into the platform and use it. And if you've only got like your marketing and your CRM manager or something involved at the start, you've got to try and sell that into everybody else. So I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a really important point, and it makes the person that's really invested in Lex's job easier by having the team along for the ride.
It was a
Yeah.
game changer for us. We went as wide as property people, merchandise planners, GMs, customer
Yeah.
service, obviously, and the whole marketing team and the digital team. So there were a lot of people in the
Yeah.
room at that time.
It's a good point. I think a lot of people's perception is that a CDP is a marketing tool. And yet, of course, they are the heaviest users. But the CDP is actually used by product and merchandise people. It's used by GMs and CEOs to decide where they're going to open their next store. So it's not just a marketing tool. So that's why it's important to understand that you can use it for all sorts of decisions in the business. And then sometimes that means you can split your budget with a few other business units, because it's not just marketing budget.
Very true. But I tell you
Yeah.
how one of the uses during the pandemic, because the CDP was already well and truly integrated into the business and well established within the PaaS group brands, we used it to identify the people that shopped in the stores that we were about to close, to communicate to them where they can shop and what have you, and or post the pandemic as well, when we were reopening the stores and or shutting them down, so we could segment the customers and communicate to them in a very specific way, saying, we know you shopped in that store. It is now closed, and the nearest store to you will be here, and the address and everything. So it was very
That's a good.
personalized communication. So it served us very well.
It's a really good use case. Another one similar in terms of store data is that what some brands will do is they'll look at the geographical radius of the people on their database. They'll say, okay, we've got our store in Chadstone. Let's have a look at how many people on our database live within a 5-kilometre radius of the Chadstone store, but have never actually gone in and bought in store. And then we'll invite them to exclusive VIP night to bring them in. They might have been online customers only. So that's another good use where the store data is important.
Yes, agree. And I was actually, you already given me an example, but I wanted to ask you that once the team have that customer view, how do you guys help them move from insights on the dashboard and on the dashboard to real
Mm.
measurable outcomes in store and online? So this is one of the examples that you've already mentioned.
Yeah. I think like I've talked a lot about, I'm going to keep pushing it, that it's all about not just observing the data, but like using the data to drive behavior, and growth really comes from turning those insights into targeted actions across all your marketing channels, your e-commerce and your in-store. Some of the low-hanging fruit that we will use very early on is identifying who your top customers are, and then pushing that data out to Meta to do like a lookalike campaign, and identifying what is the product that those top value customers bought the very first time, what brought them in, using that product in the creative so you can find more customers like your high value customers. Or it might even be that there's a group of customers who have quite a low lifetime value, but some of their behaviors are very similar to the top customers. So identifying who they are and nurturing them. And the big one is one-time buyers. So having a look at what did these people buy, and using our predictive modeling to see what are they likely to buy next and when are they likely to buy, because those one-time buyers are at risk. You just need to get them to buy one more time. And sometimes you can just move the dial by like 1% on those groups, and it will pay for Lexa in its first year. So online is more about connecting all the multiple sources, so bringing in also your offline data and giving personalized product recommendations and using it in your paid media. And then in store, we haven't talked about that much, but we have a native clienteling tool called Lexa Serve. So this in-store tool is where the retail staff can surface some of the data from the CDP, some simplified data, because we don't want the store people to be overwhelmed with all of the data, but we can see which customers are VIPs, which ones only ever buy the sale item, so like take them straight to the sale rack, and using the predictive analytics to say, oh, you might like this particular product. And I think it's really good because everything needs to be measurable. I think that's the key as well. You can track the conversion rate in the store as well. And giving those people in store a personalized experience. I think we're really good. Brands are getting really good at personalizing online. There's so much tech. They give a really personalized experience online. Then someone comes into the store, and what's the question they ask? Hi, can I help you with anything? And that customer says, no, thanks, just looking, and conversation ends. If you can actually ask them, can I look up your profile? If you've shopped with us before, I'd love to be able to look at what you've bought in the past, and I might be able to recommend some really nice products that I think you'll really like. Then you are going to be able to give that personalized experience in store as well, and you'll be able to uplift your average order value and uplift from an online perspective, increase your return on ad spend. So I think another important point in the store, collecting data in the store. You can collect data on someone on the spot, and I don't think store staff are educated enough on why that's really important. If you can educate your staff in the store to say, we really need to collect this, you really need to ask for their birthday, or you really need to ask them their preferences, because this is how it will help the business. I think that's really helpful. And then everything becomes this big growth engine rather than just a dashboard of data.
And store staff store staff get behind it as well, because they love to do anything that improves that customer experience and helps them to get to know that customer better.
Yeah.
Because they know exactly how to build the relationship so that these people keep coming back and they don't have to worry about their sales targets ever.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of people will gamify it as well. They'll be like, let's see how many people you can collect data on, or
yes,
check them in on Lexa Serve, or see what your conversion rate's like. So you can gamify it, make it fun.
absolutely. How can brands use personalization in a way that feels human,
Hmm.
adding value rather than being intrusive?
This is an interesting one, Anna, because quite a few brands ask this, but I'm like, do people actually feel that? Do people really feel like it's intrusive? I don't know. I think people expect it now. and they're happy to be targeted if it's relevant. So I suppose brands that are focusing on relevancy rather than just volume are the ones that are doing well. But if you're showing people something that genuinely matters to them and it feels like you're being helpful and you use the data for that, then I think it's fine. I think, for example, if you're going to serve me an ad for Huggies nappies, I'm not a parent. I'm never going to buy that. That's crap. But if you start serving me ads or emails with dog accessories or gym gear, I'm going to love it. And I don't think that's creepy. I think that's really helpful and I'd much rather see that. So I think it's just about, I think the staff need to be genuinely curious and deep dive into the data and then use that. So some of the things would be, I think, so this is the way we would help with personalization. The first thing is starting with your first party data. So that's when you're collecting someone's email address and you're observing their behavior. You can see what emails they're engaging with, what stores they like to visit at, what they bought, how often they bought, etc. Then if you can add on zero party data, and so zero party is when you might do a survey or a competition and you specifically ask them, what do you like, stripes or spots? Do you have children? Ask them their preferences. You're progressively profiling that customer and getting to know more and more about them. And our clients, Aquila and Decuba, do a great job of that. They do biannual or annual surveys. They ask quite a lot of questions about their customers. They ask them things like, what other brands they shop at, what styles do they prefer, and so on. And then they use that data. Like Aquila will ask what events you're into. If you tick the box to say that you are into spring racing and the Melbourne Cup, then they will segment a Melbourne Cup EDM just for you, but not for the others that didn't tick that. That's where personalisation becomes really valuable. There's also third-party data, just to throw that in and confuse everybody. But third-party is where you can overlay whether someone's likely to be a high-income earner, whether they're likely to be a parent, whether they're likely to have a pet. So having all these things together will help you being able to personalize and make someone feel like you know who they are. And I think that feels human rather than intrusive.
Yes, agree. Good answer.
Yeah.
And yes, and it's, to your point, it's been helpful as well.
Yeah. I think people in store especially question me and say, "Oh, is it a bit creepy asking to look up someone's profile?" I think it's just the way you frame it. Again, it's about being helpful. If you can say, "Have you shopped with us before?" and they say, "Oh, I have actually," then you say, "Oh, I'd love to look up what you've bought in the past and I might be able to help you." I think that sounds helpful. And that's also where the importance of known data rather than anonymous data comes in. Anonymous data is great for looking at a big pool of people and some trends. But if you've got known data, someone's email address, phone number, whatever, then you can attach it to that profile and look at that individual and treat them with personalization. There's one other thing I just forgot that I wanted to mention as well, and that is because I was on a panel yesterday about this. I think it's really important to find the truth between what do people say they want and what are their actions actually doing? Because you can survey your customers and we encourage you to do that as well. But I've seen it so many times. People will put a survey out and the customers will say, "We really value sustainability." And then you look at the data and those same people have returned most of the eco-friendly products with the reason that it didn't feel luxurious enough. Or the survey data, they've said, "We really want to see more new products, new range." But their history shows they just buy the same three things all the time. And then people say they want personalization, and then you send them a survey to say, "Oh, can you share your preferences?" and they just don't fill it in. So I think you need to listen to that, but marry that up with what they're actually doing and use that very carefully in your marketing, because just because they say they like sustainability doesn't mean you should change your whole strategy to be that message.
That's a very good point. Thank you.
Yeah.
If a retailer is just starting to get serious about data unification, what's one small practical step they can take today that will make a big impact long term?
I think they're probably going to have to do this a little bit manually if they don't have a CDP, but you could just identify you should identify who your top 20 to 25% customers are that are bringing in the majority of the revenue. It's really important to find out who they are and then understand what makes them different. So, like, what products do they buy? What payment type? Are they using Zip Pay and Afterpay, like, for example? It could be something like that. Or how many days between their purchases? So, I think it's about shifting that marketing focus to find more people like your top value customers. Um, Thinking things like Black Friday, I think that's really topical at the moment. If you're just putting all of your customers into a Black Friday campaign, you could be really affecting your revenue because you've probably got a pool of customers who have only ever bought full price items. You've chucked them on a Black Friday campaign, and what's happened? You've converted them to become a discount shopper. So maybe you could exclude them and include just people that like to buy a discount. And I think you should be adjusting your marketing spend accordingly as well. So if you've got these pool of customers that are really valuable to you, should you be spending the same amount of marketing dollars on them as you do on your customers that buy once a year and spend $20? I think you should be spending more of the marketing pool on the really valuable customers to keep them and grow them. Yeah, that's not just one thing, is it? That you asked me just for one thing.
Yes, one small thing, but this is not a small thing. I think what you've identified as top 20%, I think it's such a
Mm,
powerful way to look at it because, there is a formula that 20% of customers drive 80% of
yeah,
your revenue. And that is true. When whoever can look at the data, I have never seen the data where it wasn't true because
yeah,
we
me
think, oh,
too.
yes, we have 500,000 people in our database. It means nothing if you don't
So true.
know their LTVs, CLVs. You don't know how often they shop, who is shopping. Because yes, I don't have to convert you, but those
Yeah,
20%, it seems very simple, but it's so powerful if they just start with that.
just that.
That it's
100%.
it will be incredible. So, before we wrap up, I do want to ask you on a personal note, what's
Oh,
been your biggest professional challenge recently and how did you navigate that? Because I know it's been a big year for you
it
in many
has.
different levels. And
Hmm.
I know you have turned already a big
No,
number.
you can say it. It's okay. I'm an open book. Everyone knows my personal life, even on LinkedIn. Yes, I'm turning 50 on the 28th of November. If anyone wants to send me a birthday message on LinkedIn, yeah, it's a big milestone. It has been a big year. I've been very open about some of the health issues that I had as well with my heart and having a stroke. But that's not a professional challenge, although it affected work a little bit. I think my biggest professional challenge for the last 12 months has been about focus. There's so many events, there's so many partnerships, there's so many ideas happening, and I try to be everywhere at once. And up until August, I was solo. I was like the only sales and partnerships person in the region doing everything. But now I've got an amazing, he's a gun, Nick Gardner. If you haven't met him, look him up on LinkedIn. He has been doing sales and partnerships and helping me. And it's allowed me to be able to get really clear on what's moving the needle and double down, be more intentional, really focus on the people and the prioritizing the projects that are really going to drive really good outcomes. So I just feel like work is more impactful now, not just busy. Still a work in progress, but yeah, I think that clarity and focus has been a game changer, and it's very helpful that I've got Lexa, who's a really supportive business as well. Great culture.
Well, we're glad that you've overcome all these challenges successfully. I know that Nick is watching us live right now. He is definitely appears to be a mini me, and a huge helper. He's a great guy, so it was a pleasure
Is
meeting him in person, and I'm glad that he's helping you out. But and you needed it because you've been incredibly busy. But from myself and from the audience and from all of us, Aaron, it's been an incredible conversation. We have these conversations all the time, and somehow I never tired of these conversations, although I probably know by now which examples you're going to mention. But obviously, it's not about me because I know a little bit about the CDP, but it's about everyone else. And the idea and the outcome that I want to achieve, I just want to inspire people to look into it, because you will never look back once you integrate the CDP into your business. It will open up an incredible magical world for you of personalization and creating and building and nurturing those relationships with your clients, which pays off always in the long term. But I also want to quickly circle it to what you mentioned about the challenges. And I think my word for this year is being impactful, and you mentioned exactly that. So it's brilliantly put, and I really appreciate you looking at it from that point of view. It's not about being busy; it's
Mm,
being purposeful and impactful. That's the most important thing, because we can do
absolutely.
everything, and not everything is urgent, not everything is important, but we need to choose to do something that is impactful and adds value, and help others and helps the community and all of us together. So
Yeah.
thank you. It's been a
Thank you.
wonderful chatting to you. Thanks everyone for joining, and I see your all your comments in the chat. We appreciate you. Have an amazing day and a wonderful weekend. We'll chat to you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much.